Hey everyone, this video is going to be another Drakengard plot recap, which means that another content warning is in order. This time around, we'll be dealing with themes of graphic violence, suicide, incest, cannibalism, child murder, pedophilia, and surreal imagery, so be wary of that going in. Okay, so before we continue recapping the plot of Drakengard 1, there's one quick thing that I want to mention. And that's has to do with the music of Drakengard 1, because in the previous video I used a bunch of background music from like different kinds of JRPGs and stuff, and I like intentionally refrained from using music from Drakengard because it's absolutely horrible. Every single song in Drakengard is like this hellish cacophony that sounds like they took 3 different orchestral songs and just slapped them on top of each other and put them in there. It's not good listening music.
I mean, I'm guessing we could have put Magic Bus music over the top and it probably would have been just as fitting.
Yeah, that would have been... Yes.
Crazy Bus, sorry.
That's what I thought you were meant. It's a little better than Crazy Bus, although it does eke into that territory from time to time. But to give you the full Drakengard experience, for the first minute or so of this video, I'll be busting some Drakengard jams straight through your speakers, so get ready for that.
It's gonna be great. I've got my earplugs all plugged in already, raring to go.
I got my beats.
I got my beats by Drakengard. Ready for this.
You took that somewhere differently than I thought you would. Alright, so the way other endings in Drakengard work is that you go back to the mission select screen and you'll see that there's certain new missions that are either orange or black, like the titles of them are orange or black. Mm-hmm. And orange means that it's time to do those missions, and black means that you can't do them yet until you fulfill a certain requirement. And usually these will involve going back to like missions way in the past. For example, for this first one, we're gonna go back to, I believe it's chapter 4, which ends with us killing the golem, the bad knife golem.
The Pokemon golem.
That's the one. Yes. We do that, and then we see a scene of a character called Seere talking to his mother. His mother's lying on the ground, and it seems that she's dying, and he mentions that like his dad isn't moving anymore, so he probably died as well. And his mother's like, Seere, I loved you. You're the only one I ever loved. And then she dies. It's pretty great start. The path B has.
It's pretty grim beginning.
Yeah. So then Kaim and the crew roll up to that general area, and they're like, alright, alright crew, what are we gonna do now? And then in the distance they hear some rumbling, and then Seere shows himself along with his new pal, which is a different golem, and he's like, nobody's here anymore, not even my parents. And it's at this point that we get to see that Seere looks exactly like Mana, the priestess of the Watchers.
But a guy?
Yes.
Oh, the name kind of confused me for a second there. I've been, until you mentioned it's a male, I was like, oh, it's obviously a girl, Sarah.
So we have a chat with Seere, and he mentions that like his parents are dead, his sister got taken away by the Watchers. So to us it's clear, okay, Mana is his twin sister, and she got taken away by the Watchers, but the main cast doesn't know that yet because this is way earlier in the story. And also he made a pact with the golem that's with him, and his pact price was his time, so he will remain a child forever.
Oh, interesting.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
So, and also a cute little detail is that he put a little smile on the face of the golem with chalk.
Aww. Yeah, that's adorable.
I know, that's really cute. But anyway, Seere wants Kaim to take him with him because they mentioned that they're going to go find the Watchers, and he knows that his sister got taken away with the Watchers and he wants to go save her. So they do. We take this kid with us on our adventure, even though we have a lady with us who is a cannibal that likes eating children.
Just keep them far away from each other. Just keep them at arm's length.
Yeah, at least. So that's that. From this point forward, the game pretty much continues basically the same as it was. So like the big war the fight happens, the Helm's Deep fight. The nuking from orbit happens, and then we fly up to the airship, and then Leonard is like, wait, I hear something related to the goddess off in the distance for whatever reason, or he sees a vision, like he's blind in a fantasy story so he can see stuff through the ether. That's mandatory. So this is where Path A and Path B branch, basically, because you get an option, either keep going up to the airship and then you continue towards ending A, or you can go to the ocean ship of the Empire.
Ocean ship?
Yes, just a big warship on the ocean. So we do that, of course. We gotta make progress. And it's kind of funny because the ocean ship just looks like the airship, but upside down. So we go up to the ocean ship, and it's surrounded by these towers that emit a force field over the ship, so we have to destroy those first. It takes a real long time, so reinforcements show up, like in the form of just regular battleships. We have to take care of those too. Then we can enter the ship finally, and then we find out that there's no one there. Just the hulls of the ship are completely empty. The cast is not tipped off to the fact that maybe this means that Fury Eye is also here, is also not here. So they continue going into the ship, and then once they get to like the control room or whatever, Leonard makes the statement, Fury Eye isn't here anymore, which seems really tenuous to me, but sure.
She just escaped with the rest of them on the ship, off the ship.
Then Kaim kicks Leonard in the head twice. Classic Drakengard.
Classic
vintage.
response. Classic response.
From this point, the story sort of continues the way it did, like up on the airship, where like NieR, yes, he's there, and Fury Eye gets killed by Mana. NieR snaps out of his evilness, and he takes Fury Eye with him. And then Seeds of Resurrection show up, and he's like, if I take her to the Seeds of Resurrection, I can bring her back to life, and it's gonna be okay. So we meet up with NieR again on his way to the Empire capital city, which is where the Seeds of Resurrection are. And we have the same fight, and Angelus once again says, no, you can't resurrect people with the Seeds of Resurrection, that's not what they do! But NieR, at this point, like, this level changes because you have to beat him within a certain time limit, otherwise you can't advance to Path B, otherwise you're re-merged with Path A.
Hard mode.
Yeah, so you beat him, he goes off to the Empire capital, and we follow him to the Empire capital. We get there, and we get there a little earlier than we would in Branch A, so we fight some more Empire dragons, and then we get down to where NieR is, and he's like all moping, like, oh, this is all my fault. No, it's not my fault, but I'm just gonna fix it anyway, don't you agree, Kaim? And Kaim's like, no. So then you get into another fight with him, but somehow he managed to elude you and escape and get back to where he put Fury Eye, even though we've already been there and know where that is.
Wait.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
While you were fighting him?
Yeah, you fight him, he escapes, and he goes back to where we encountered him, like, right before this, and we don't find him in time. So he picks up Fury Eye and he puts her inside this big Seed of Resurrection, like, it's this orb, but it's like a weird, like, liquidy metal orb. So he puts her in there, and then at first it seems like she comes back out, and it looks like she's alive again. And then she smiles, and he smiles, and then blood comes out of his mouth, and then the camera pans down, and we see that like this weird scorpion tail is coming out of the Seed of Resurrection and stabbed him in his stomach.
What?
Yeah, and then Fury Eye is like, her eyes like start pointing in different directions, and she starts screaming, and then she emerges from the Seed of Resurrection as like this angel scorpion hell beast. So
I thought it was just a healing gel goo thing.
No, it turns out the wise ancient dragon was right. Who would have thought? We have a boss fight against the harpy weird monster version of Fury Eye, and it's a really bad boss fight that probably should have been cut from the game, and it's borderline unbeatable in the PAL version because it runs at 50 hertz and they programmed the reticle to move at the frame rate speed, so it's slower in the PAL version. It's nearly impossible to dodge her projectiles.
It's good design.
But we do it anyway. We beat her, and then Kaim stands on top of the Capitol building with a dead Fury Eye in his hands while like a billion Empire dragons fly up, and then a bunch of clones of the weird angel monster Fury Eye emerge from the rest of the Seeds of Resurrection to do battle with the Black Dragons, and that's ending B.
That's ending B?
That's ending B.
That's how it ends?
Yes.
It ends with... okay.
You know how in most games the first ending is like the bad ending, and they do some more stuff, and then you get the good ending? Well, Drakengard, it's like the opposite.
That's a very interesting way to end a game.
Yeah, I mean you do a big fight right before that, but yeah, the idea is basically that the world has been thrown into cataclysm.
Play Drakengard 2 to find out more.
No, because Drakengard 2 follows off from ending A, the good ending. Anyway, it's time for Path C. Path C starts us off at the ocean ship again, except this time we break through the defenses in time, so there's still people there that we have to fight.
Yeah.
So we fight through them, and we get to the end, and this time we think, oh hell yeah, Fury Eye is going to be in the control room, but even though we were there faster, this time she's still not there, lending credence to the theory that she was never there to begin with.
Leonard was just literally just so wrong.
Yep. So we get to the control room, and once again we find out there's nothing here, except there is this weird purple circle shows up on the ground, and Leonard decides that it's a space elevator.
That leads to Fury Eye.
Yeah, so they take it, and it just takes us back up to the airship. So why is this part even here?
What's the point of the ocean ship?
I don't know. They just made an extra map, and they were just like, put it in the game. So
why is there a teleport from an ocean ship to an?
So we get up to the airship. We get up to the control room there, where Mana and Fury Eye and Inuart are. This is before Inuart snaps out of his evilness.
Oh.
And Kaim gets there. Inuart is like, together we can start a new. We can rebuild the world. And then Fury Eye is like, can you just leave us alone? And he does. He leaves. And then there's this weird little scene that is actually, they changed it a little bit. They neutered it a little bit for the international release. Because in the original version, Mana reads Fury Eye's mind and very blatantly spells it out that Fury Eye has the hots for Kaim.
Yeah.
Right. But in the international version, she just kind of like vaguely says that Fury Eye loves Kaim in like a platonic family way, which does make sense for two reasons. One, because we already know, like even the international version of the game already told us that Fury Eye wants to have sex with her brother.
So fun.
Yeah, and also for the other reason is that because of this, in this, like with the international version, the scene afterwards makes no sense. Because Fury Eye looks at Kaim, now this revelation is out there, and Kaim's like, he looks away in disgust. And then Fury Eye, torn and just saddened by this revelation that her lust for her brother isn't mutual, decides to kill herself. So she stabs herself in the chest. Right? Oh my god, Drakengard.
Can't they just talk about their problems?
No.
No.
What? No, that wouldn't. Oh god. That wouldn't be
seriously, kills herself. Because and in the international version that's actually quite hilarious because it's just like, oh, you love him as a platonic relationship.
As a sister.
As a brother, and then he's just like,
and he doesn't love you back.
Love.
So even though this is all Mana's fault, and Kaim loves his sister's like the only person he cares for even a little bit in the universe, and Kaim hates Mana to begin with, in a weird moment, he decides he's not going to kill Mana even though he has his sword readied, because Angelus is like, we gotta get out of there, we can't take 2 extra seconds to lob this kid's head off, we have to leave right now, because the seeds of resurrection are out there, we have to stop it. So Kaim leaves and he goes after Inuart. Same thing happens. He follows Inuart towards he follows Inuart, who has Fury Eye with him, towards the capital. You fight Inuart on the outside again. You fight him at the capital again. All that stuff happens the same, except this time you beat him faster and you beat him conclusively.
Conclusively?
Yeah, so he's like, Kaim, I guess I'm sorry about all this. What are we gonna do now? He decides not to put Fury Eye in the Seed of Resurrection, and then Angelus is like, oh no, Mana made it to the thing where she can make the terrible stuff happen. What? Who could have predicted? So we go back to, no, we don't go back to the airship. She made it to the Capitol building, so we also go to the Capitol building. And we get in there, and Mana's like, it's time for everything to be bad, because that's what I want. And then a dragon walks in, like just one of the Empire dragons, and eats her off screen.
Eats Mana off screen.
Mana gets eaten off screen by an Empire dragon.
Well, that was very anticlimactic, to say the least.
Okay, so then Kaim and Angelus arrive in that same room where that happened, and then for reasons that make no sense, I've went over this scene like 15 times and I don't understand why this happens. First of all, Angelus turns into like this skeleton chaos dragon because this happens.
Wait, because Mana gets eaten?
I guess it happens around that time. It happens on like this little screen. It's like, Angelus is level 4 and it's bad. And then she decides, like I said, for reasons that don't make sense, Kaim, you and I have to fight now, because she says stuff like, you're the one who opens the door, and humans, and something about a child not wanting to exit the bath when it's born. I don't know. So you have a boss fight with Angelus. This is, I think, the only boss fight you ever have on foot.
So you fight Angelus, the now skeleton chaos dragon.
Yes, you fight her in Mana's evil bedroom, and you fight her and you beat her, and then you kill her. Kaim kills her, and he destroys the seed that's in her bedroom. Somehow Kaim doesn't die, even though has
I
a
thought they
pact
made a
with the dragon.
pact.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
I guess turn into a big skeleton dragon.
Broke the pact? Sure, you know what? Sure, I'll buy that. I'll buy
if
that.
Kaim could speak, that is.
Yeah. So I just was like, wow, Kaim, you got so strong. And then outside we hear just like the sounds of 1,000 dragons. And Kaim readies his sword. He runs out there to go fight all the dragons. And that's ending C.
Again with the big fight. But nope, you can't watch the big fight. Yep. Sorry.
See, ending B and C should have had sequels. They had stuff to build into.
Yeah, but instead they went with making a sequel of ending A. It's a little bit...
Yeah. So, for ending D, we have to do something that's pretty interesting, because once you get your 3 party members, so Arioch, Leonard, and Seere, you unlock these little side chapters that are like alternate versions of what you've already seen.
Okay.
But the way you unlock them are weird, because you do it by taking them back to chapters that took place before they were in your party. Yeah, so once you befriend these guys, the game considers it like they have always been with you.
Interesting.
So for example, for Leonard, you go back to when you find the elf village and you find like the dead elf with the blood, the text written in blood.
Yeah.
And then Leonard is like, I hear, he has another vision of the distant forest where the forest seal is being on fire. So finally, 4 paths in, we get to see what one of the other seals looks like. And that instigates Leonard's side chapter, which is called Leonard's Regrets, I think.
Character development, eh?
Yeah. We go over there, and on the way there, Verdale is like, Leonard, you can't blame yourself for what happened to the orphanage, even though Verdale isn't with us yet. But I get, like, in this path, we're still gonna get to him at some point.
This is so confusing now.
But alas, he's there, and they're like, okay, we're at the garrison where the thing is near the seal, and then, I hope you're ready for this, we find out that a lot of the soldiers that are near the forest seal trying to destroy it are conscripted child soldiers.
What? Where?
It's Empire conscripted soldiers. It's evil child soldiers.
Oh my god. With red eyes?
No. Not yet.
Just plain old children that have been conscripted by the Empire.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
So in this next mission, it's our objective to kill all the child soldiers.
All of them?
Yes.
And how many?
In total, maybe probably like 50. Just in this one. And what's interesting is that every time your objective in a level changes, the game sort of gives you a little prompt, like, oh, now you gotta do this. And for the most part, by which I mean in every other situation for the rest of the game, these are really candid and straightforward, like, here's your new objective. But for this one, the game really eggs you on about having to kill these children. It's like, oh, they are the bastards of the earth. They are evil and they need to be slaughtered en masse.
Whoa, that's just... Yoko Taro, please, he's scaring me now.
Yeah, so you kill all the child soldiers, and then Leonard is like, no, we have to give them a proper burial. And then one of them is still alive, and he wants to, like, nurse the child back to health, but then the child raises his sword against Leonard and almost kills him, but then Kaim kills the kid first.
Wow.
And then a bunch of wraiths show up, you fight the wraiths. And then you go back up in the sky, you fight some more Empire airships, and then you go back down near where the seal is. You fight... I don't think you fight any more child soldiers at this point, you just fight more soldiers. And then, believe it or not, you actually manage to protect the forest seal. For once, you succeed at protecting one of the seals. Isn't that weird?
Was this the one that was on fire in the ending, eh?
No, you never get to see the forest seal up until this point.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, okay, so it was not the orphanage place that was on fire. I might have got a bit confused at some point.
It could still be the Watcher Shrine that you get to at one point. Like, once again, we don't see it, so unless it is that, you don't see it.
Okay.
But then you get the Fairy King shows up, and he's like, "You damn smelly apes, get out of my forest! You humans are burning and ruining everything. I hear something weird's going on in the desert. Y'all better go there." Because in this timeline, we never heard the voice of Verdale, so we never went there. So. We find out that Leonard is like really remorseful because the children that were under his care died. But there's, once again, this part got neutered for the international version, because in the original version, we find out that Leonard is actually a pedophile.
Why?
And has, at some point in the past, had sex with a child. So... Okay. That means the plot happened. Leonard did that, and then out of a sense of remorse... he built, in what is possibly the dumbest way to atone of all time for his sex crimes, he builds an orphanage so that he can protect children himself, all the while going into celibacy. But then the reason he wasn't at the orphanage when it was on fire, in the regular timeline, is because he went out to jerk off.
Oh my god, this game. No wonder why he wanted to kill himself at the end.
None of that is in this version of the game. That's just in the Japanese version. They cut all that out except for one really not direct reference to it, which I think makes it worse because then it doesn't have anything to say about the fact that he was trying to atone for it. Then all you get is that he banged a child.
Jesus.
But it's very vague about it, so you could just read into the international version of the game as saying, no, he never did any of that. But I do think it's funny that he is probably the best person on your team, despite all of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, his side story in the international version basically doesn't amount to anything because they cut all of it out.
Wow, I'm not surprised that they cut that out.
Yeah, me neither.
Ridiculously crazy. That is messed up.
It is.
Absolutely messed up.
So that's the end of his part. Now we go over to the desert, like the Fairy King said, and we free Vertile, and then Vertile is like, we have to protect the desert seal. We have Arioch with us, so she's like, actually, desert seal's already broken, so we should probably go check out the ocean one instead. So we are actually going to get to see that one.
Oof.
So during Arioch's side chapter, we find out a little bit about her. So what we do is we go fight a bunch of Empire warships on the ocean, and the Empire warships are throwing all the women and children on the ship overboard. And Arioch is like, no, we have to save them because I want to eat them.
Yeah, of course.
Also, at this point, we find out that people who have a pact can walk on water.
What?
How is that for symbolism? Yeah, they just do that. So Arioch eats at least one child. And then we find out a little bit about her backstory. We find out that her own children got taken in and killed by the Empire, and now she can't have children anymore because her womb was her pact price.
Oh, I thought you said that she couldn't have kids anyway, so it's the best deal you could get out of a pact. But okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and this is another part where some stuff got cut out in the international version, because in the original, we find out that the reason she now went completely mad and starts eating people, especially kids, is her internal logic is now that children are safer inside of her than they are out there where the Empire is. Which I don't know. I think they should have left that in, because then at least in her own mind she's just.
Yeah.
Which in the international version she's not. So I don't know. That's a kind of a strange change. A lot of these changes end up making the game a little tonally weird, I think.
Which is a bit of a problem, considering the game is already a little bit questionable in terms of the gameplay anyway.
Yeah.
If you might as well have an absolutely balls to the wall insane plot.
Yeah. But keep in mind, it's PS2 era, so there's a lot of stuff that I guess just wasn't acceptable, and I totally get that.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So we move on to the final of these, which is Seere's. The previous one was called Arioch's. Damn it. Arioch's Madness, and the last one's called Seere's Prayer. So we go back to some time before we first fought the golem. And Seere talks about how we need to find my sister, and that's why I'm with you guys. But now I've decided that my sister is somewhere around here, so we should go save her.
I just know, because it's my sister, and all brothers, all siblings know where each other is.
Yeah, I mean, the logic of these parts are broken to begin with, because they, because the characters are with us before they're canonically with us, so it doesn't make sense to begin with, but this one has, the most nonsensical setup out of the three.
It's just a big what-if story, isn't it?
So you just go out somewhere towards a nearby canyon, and you find out a little bit about Seere's and Mana's backstory. You find out that their mother was abusive, but only towards Mana. And once again, something got cut out of the Western version, because in the original they imply that this is what drove Mana insane, and what allowed the Watchers to invade her mind and make her their priestess.
Right.
But yeah, that's over the course of a couple chapters. Then there's a really funny part where an evil golem just lands right on Seere, and somehow he doesn't die. And then Sere's like, "No, don't kill the golems. Kill the evil wizards that are controlling them." And then you do that. But there's one more wizard that takes over Sere's golem. And then Sere's like, "No, the golem's not evil." And then he says, "Golem, punch me, and then you'll feel better." So the golem does that, punches Seria, and then the golem feels better.
All at the same time, it just has that same chalk smile on its face.
Yes, the cute chalk smile. So the golem punches him, and then the golem feels better. The curse is lifted, and then it's like, yay, we did it. We did the character development. This bit's over. And then Seria gets a griffin shows up and kidnaps Seria and takes him off to a little coliseum.
What?
Yeah, so we have to go save him. Seria has this little diatribe about how he feels useless, and he's like, I'm not useless. And we go save him, and then he apologizes for being such a burden. And then that's basically the end of that bit. From there on, the story progresses the same as version C. We go to the war happens and the scorching of the earth. Then we go up to the airship, but instead we go down to the ocean ship. There's enemies there. We fight through them, and we use the space elevator to go up to the thing. Except this time, instead of making our way to the cockpit of the airship, we catch Mana halfway into the airship. We corner her in like this tiny little room. So yeah, you're there, and Sarah's like, Mana, I'm sorry, our mother died, and obviously Mana doesn't care. She just she just goofs around. She just starts singing, and she's like, it's time. The only love we're ever gonna feel is the love of the Watchers, and the Watchers are gonna come down on us, and their love is gonna be like a mace. And then the golem's sick of her shit. And he just punches Mana and kills her in one hit.
What?
Yeah, it's a really silly little scene.
That's amazing.
And then Seria is sad. Everyone else is like, well, that's the end of that. Kaim's moping because he was the one who wanted to kill Mana. And then all of a sudden, we hear a terrible commotion coming in from outside. And that's because Mana was the one keeping the airship afloat. Now the airship's gonna crash down. Well, Inuart is with Furii in the control room, and he's like, Furii, you and I, we're gonna do stuff, but the airship falls down and crashes into the ocean, and they die in a blaze of glory together.
Wow, rest in peace.
You might notice that there's no path where we succeed in our initial goal of trying to keep Furii safe.
Yeah, Furii just dies every time.
Every single time. We get out of the airship, we start heading towards the capital because the Seeds of Resurrection are out there again. And everything's terrible. But this time, Mana is also dead, and this brings about the anger of the Watchers, and the heavens turn red, and the clouds part, and a great light comes out, and the Watchers come down from the heavens, and they take the form, stick with me, they take the form of giant, scary stone babies. These 20-foot tall stone babies that don't really move, like they're just completely gray. They look like a model that you just slap straight into Blender with no texture. They come down in droves from the heavens, and they start just like attacking the earth, I guess. So are you still with me? Are you still alive?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on, because I am now utterly invested in whatever the hell is going on now.
I am carrying on. So we fly towards the Empire Capitol building. We take care of a bunch of these baby creatures on the way there. They make this horrible screeching noise. And then we get to the Capitol, and we fight some more of the babies when we get there. We fight so many of them, but they just keep coming more and more, keep descending from the sky.
So many babies.
Vertile starts losing hope, and everybody else starts losing hope. And then Arioch, who, as we've established, is a child eater. She's like, it's time for my greatest final feast. And he's like, come to me.
Useful.
Come to me, babies. And she's like, I'm gonna eat you. And the babies come down. They bare their disgusting teeth, and they just mob her. They just like pile onto her and crush her.
So many babies, though.
So many evil babies.
That's just too many babies.
Where do all these babies come from? Well, we find out now, because from the earth comes up a giant, like way taller, like the leader of the Watchers, I guess, who is not a baby but is like an adult woman.
So not a Regret.
No, she is like she's the best of them, the strongest Watcher. Oh, the characters call them grotesqueries. They just established this notion completely independently. Everybody's like, God, what are we gonna do now? And Leonard is like, okay, that lady, the big stone lady, is clearly the leader of the bunch, so I'm gonna clear a pathway, and you guys are gonna go take care of that. So, and then Sarah is like, no, Leonard, don't. I'm your friend. Because, like, Leonard, as we've established, he's trying to atone. He is good with children.
It's not really the word that I would use.
But he is very kind to Sari over the course of the adventure. So Sari like hugs him, and his head hits right in the crotch area of Leonard, and Leonard gasps, which doesn't mean anything in the international version, but we know better. But Leonard's like, no, Seere, I have to go, and you have to stay strong, okay? You have to be the hero. And then Leonard goes off, and his fairy friend, pact partner, is like, no, you can't do this. I thought you had hope to live. And Leonard is like, death doesn't have to be the end of hope. And then all the babies pile onto him, and he does this like blue magic suicide explosion attack, and he kills a bunch of the babies.
This is just so weird.
It is weird, and it's time for our weird end game. We fight some more grotesqueries, and while we're doing that, Vertile starts talking about how the big lady grotesquerie is absorbing the great time. So basically, she is like destroying time by taking it all within her, and as a result of that, like reality is getting demolished. The world is coming to an end.
Go on.
And then we know Seere, his pack price was his time, so there's another great time that rests within him according to the game's logic.
Oh.
Earlier on, when we first meet Seere, he offhandedly mentions this story about the littlest hero that his mother used to tell him.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells the story of the littlest hero, and he says, like, the littlest hero once drank up all of the great time, then he went to rest underground until something terrible happened above ground, then he came back up and he fought the terrible thing off. He releases the time that he drank up, and that's what breathes new life into the world.
The power of waiting for new video games.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
I wish I had some more of that power. Seere decides he's going to do the same thing. He's going to offer himself. He's going to offer his life so that he can put a new great time out there, and that will hopefully push all these watchers out of this world and revitalize its life powers.
Mm-hmm.
So Kaim takes Seere with him towards the big lady, who is now like laying down in the middle of the city, and she is like absorbing the time into her belly, and like her belly keeps expanding. And this is
getting really deviant out right now.
2016 has been a terrible year for me discovering fetish terminology that I never wanted to know about. First, that when you and I were talking about the new Kojima Norman Reedus game, you described it as M-Preg, which I had never heard of before. Wow. And now, while I was looking into the plot of this game a little bit, I read someone refer to this as unbirthing, and I wish I was dead.
No! That's terrible. That is terrible.
Anyway.
Carry on.
We fight through some more grotesqueries, and we take him up to the big woman grotesquerie. We just we just toss him off the dragon onto her belly, and then Kaim and the dragon they also get swamped by the grotesqueries and get killed. And then Seere is like, it's time for me to be a little hero, and he lays down on top of the belly, and then like this black goo starts oozing out of him and starts absorbing the woman. And because of the general shape of it, they started looking like a Hershey's Kiss, like one of those chocolate drops. And the black goo just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding until you can see it from outer space. It forms like this big needle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ending D.
That's the end?
Yeah, that's the fourth ending. One ending remains.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets more. There's stuff still to do.
I think I need to, like, have a second. Just
lay down,
to pass all this.
I need to have, like, a new lifetime.
Oh my god. I just hearing this from you is crazy enough, but I dread to watch the video later and actually see all the visuals that go along with this, because
it's a little more bearable, I think, when you see it in like crappy PlayStation 2 vision.
Well, wow, one ending, huh?
One ending left. So for Path E, we don't have to redo any old stuff. Well, in theory, all you have to do is collect all of the weapons in the game, which is one hell of a terrible task, and that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And before, I want to preface this final ending by just letting you know that at this point we are a good 25 hours into this game, and ending E is our final reward.
Wow, long game.
It is a long game, yeah. So this time, instead of... it starts off again with... everybody's dead except for Kaim and Seere and the dragon. And it starts off again with us approaching the big lady grotesquerie.
Yes.
But this time, instead of sending Seere after her, we just decide, screw it, we're the hero of all time. We are the all-powerful god being Kaim. We're just gonna fly in there and take care of it our damn selves.
We kill a lot of babies.
So we approach the giant stone lady, and this huge flash of light comes up, and then the screen goes black, and then when it fades back in, we fade onto it's a black and white screen of what looks like a regular modern day city. What? And then a white light opens up in the sky, and Kaim and the dragon and the giant lady grotesquerie fall out of it onto the city. Then we get a title card, Tokyo. So we teleported out of this fantasy realm into the modern time just by flying into this lady.
Oh, wow. So... okay.
It hasn't even... The weirdest part hasn't even started yet, because it's time for the final boss fight. And I want you to just take a wild guess what shape the final boss fight takes.
In modern day Tokyo, is it a giant Godzilla?
No, that would make sense. That would be like a logical way to follow up the story turn. No, the final boss fight of Drakengard is a rhythm game.
That's amazing.
What happens is the lady, she extends her arm out, and you just automatically fly circles around her.
Yeah.
And she starts sending out these white and black rings, and you have to fire... You now have the power to do that too, for whatever reason. So you have to fire out the white rings to counter her white rings, and same with the black rings. If you send out the wrong ring, like if your black ring collides with one of her white rings, you get stunned for a couple seconds, and then her rings have a chance to get closer to you. And then if you get hit by a ring even once, you die.
Right.
And also your health is automatically ticking down, but it ticks back up every time you hit one of her rings. It starts out really easy, just like one hit a second, but it gets super hard. Like this takes 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and at the end, there is a series of over 60 commands, like just 1 microsecond after another they have to hit.
So this is like DDR level SS plus ranks. I'm not familiar with DDR, but...
Totally, and at this point, like this is, you're 2 minutes in, and if you mess up even once, you die because they just come at you too fast, and then you have to do the whole thing again.
Practiced on Stepmania.
So you beat that, hopefully, if you can. You beat that, and you beat the grotesquerie lady. She sort of crumbles down onto Tokyo, and then finally, for the first time, you actually succeed in doing something good, because presumably your own world, which you're not in anymore, is okay again.
It's true.
So finally a happy ending, except, oh wait, Angelus and Kaim get blown up by by 2 rockets that are shot at them by like F-16 military planes. Yeah, and they're like, Bravo 1, this is Charlie, we defeated the flying dragon, over and out, we're coming back to the base. And then the final credits roll over just a gray screen while you hear the silent commotion of Tokyo.
Wow.
And that's ending E.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's Drakengard.
What an ending.
Yeah. So now there's a couple things that I gotta mention. Ending C, which has the whole incest subplot, was written sort of in response to an anime series that Yoko Taro didn't like, which is a series called Sister Princess, which has incestuous tones in it. And he decided, I'm gonna nip this in the bud by showing how bad incestuous relationships are, which is a good stance to take, in my opinion. And I think it's one that's more relevant now than it was then, because Japanese youth literature is like awash with incestuous brother-sister relationships nowadays, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I have heard about that sort of thing. It's a little bit strange. Well, it's very strange in my opinion. Interesting that Yoko Taro made a stance on it.
Yeah. And ending E, the whole game really, but especially ending E, was heavily inspired by Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Of course it is.
Yeah, and to the point that ending E is actually called the End of the Dragon Sphere in reference to the movie End of Evangelion.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's it. That's Drakengard. What do you think?
I'm speechless. I honestly don't know what to say.
It makes NieR just feel like a delightful little walk in the park, right?
I mean, I'm kind of wondering if NieR gets to this point. Like, where does it... Hold on, so...
NieR is... I'll tell you right now, NieR isn't anywhere near this bad. NieR this bad.
Yeah, I like it. But I'm trying to think of where the link is between Drakengard and NieR.
Okay, so it's this. The reason I wanted to tell you the story of Drakengard is, besides the fact that there's little references in NieR back to Drakengard, like there was that one weapon.
Yeah.
And there's like similar runic symbols from Drakengard are in NieR. But the main reason is that they're basically retellings of the same basic plot concepts, but like approached from different angles. Yeah, it's about a soft-spoken but very capable warrior who's basically like the last hope for his people, fighting against like a world-destroying evil force, and he does it all out of love for a family member, without whom his entire world would crumble. In the case of Drakengard, literally because the world would end, and in the case of NieR, because Yona is all he has to live for.
Yeah.
And if you play the version of NieR where NieR is Yona's older brother, the Japanese PlayStation 3 version of the game, then they're both your sister in both of these games. And also in both the games, you hang out with a rather fussy minister of a greater power and a rather snarky woman who knows more about all this than she's letting on. And also sometimes you hang out with the red-haired bard.
Yeah, that's actually quite apt, yeah.
Yeah, but whereas Drakengard takes the approach of giving you just these monstrous subhuman characters that you could never relate to and basically expecting you to sit back and watch the tragedy happen and enjoy it. NieR is all about giving you relatable characters and taking you through that tragedy and, feeling for it.
I kind of prefer the feels part, even if it does make me want to blow up in tears quite often.
Yeah.
I feel like in terms of what I enjoy, I really like games that take something a little weird. Drakengard sounds so weird that I don't know how I could actually enjoy it at some point. I mean, I suppose I'd want to play it just to see how messed up it can get.
You don't want to play it, because as we've established, it plays real bad.
Wow.
Which may or may not have been intentional, because Yoko Taro's grand vision for Drakengard was taking the Dynasty Warrior style, like killing thousands of enemies in every single level, and putting you in the shoes of people who would actually do that sort of thing, like who have the capacity for that kind of horrible violence.
Yeah.
And I think, even though Drakengard is a terrible mess of a story, because things happen for no reason, the voice acting's bad, the writing isn't very good, I still like it a lot. Just because Yoko Taro brings this sense of a jovial sobriety to every subject he touches. So whether it's just something simple or something really dark, like pedophilia, he approaches it from the same angle. And sometimes that means that it comes across as a little exploitative, but it means that there's always a sense of earnesty to it, and it never feels intentionally exploitative. Like, take, for example, Leonard's storyline. It's pretty awful, obviously. But if you kind of break it down to its base elements, a man commits a horrible sexual atrocity. He wants to atone for it, so he puts himself in a state of needlessly self-punishing celibacy, because he doesn't even allow him to. He's not even allowed to pleasure himself, and he decides he's going to create a better life for these other children. And then when he finally can't do it anymore and gives into his own desires in a completely innocent way, by doing it for himself. Children still end up getting hurt. So the crux of the plot is no matter how Leonard gives into his desires, whether it's in a terrible way or in an innocent way, children always get hurt. And for a PS2 game in 2004, what else was coming out that year? The edgy Prince of Persia game? the Jak 3?
Surprised you remember all these from the release day.
Metal Gear Solid 3. I mean, that's a pretty good story, but it's basically just a big, satisfying Hollywood war story. Drakengard, man. It's ambitious. It's like the most ambitious plot of all time. If there was ever a game that I'd love to get a big budgeted, slicked up remake, it's Drakengard 1.
And what can you really expect? The guy who makes this game has a big old circle moon hat. Yeah. Moon mask.
That's the end of Drakengard 1, and Drakengard 1 is the only one that has direct relevance to NieR, because like I said, it's sort of a retelling of the same story. But I think we should still go over the plots of the other two games, just for fun.
Yeah.
Drakengard 2 and 3 play a lot better than Drakengard 1 does. The gameplay just kept getting better, to the point that those two games are actually fun to play. But the plots continuously degenerate just from a quality level. So as far as these recap videos are concerned, there's no way but down.
Oh, man.